What's the physiology on this? Like their bones are supposed to be more malleable and tender as they grow, which means they're more likely to like fall and get hurt and experience the world, right?
All right. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode, Pop1021, Powerful Optical Perspective. You've seen these people before, but in case you haven't, we're going to have them introduce themselves.
All right, my name's Amber. I'm not giving my last name. I have over 6 years working with children. I have worked multiple years at a preschool, and I'm currently working as a youth leader for elementary school students, TK and kindergarten specifically.
My name's Ariana. I'm currently in the credential program. I have some experience dealing with elementary and middle school because my family was in the education system, so I would usually help and volunteer. This is my second year in the credential program. My goal is to teach elementary.
And I'm Jen. I'm currently a high school English teacher, but I have had experience in the past with after school programs anywhere from TK to 8th grade. So that's a lot of fun. I'm also the eldest daughter of 5 children, so there's personal experience there.
All of us are the oldest sibling. Is that? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the siblings.
So it's technically I've been working with
So,
kids for like 10
yeah.
years.
So
Yes.
there, you can see
We
there's a pattern.
subconsciously all entered.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Parentification.
Yeah. Is this going to turn into a free therapy?
No.
No.
No, I
No.
wish.
Maybe another time.
A different
That's
episode.
another whole topic.
We're talking about therapy, talking about children. This ties into our conversation about working with children.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have experience working with kids, and a lot of people downplay kids' abilities and their indestructibleness. Is that a word? Someone correct me on. That's a word.
I'm not an English major. Okay,
Confidence.
this one is the English teacher.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, English major. Got it.
English teacher.
Teacher.
Sure. I was not an English major. There's a difference.
They're the same
Oh,
thing. I
they're
argue.
not. Security.
Cancelled.
But
Grammarly correct.
yeah.
Can you repeat the question though?
How destructible are kids, and do we downplay their indestructible? Yeah, see, thank you. I knew I was gonna say it wrong. How do we downplay their ability on? Do we downplay kids? Do we not expect enough for them? Do we expect too much for them?
Those little buggers are built to what's the physiology on this? Like their bones are supposed to be more malleable and tender as they grow, which means they're more likely to like fall and get hurt and experience the world, right?
They're more likely to break a bone while they're younger because their bones are a lot fragile. They haven't reached maturity, just biologically wise.
Yes, biology, but they're also, since they're growing, they heal faster.
Yes.
And that's why they seem indestructible. They're not indestructible. They just have super healing powers, apparently.
Are you talking about like physically or mentally?
I think it's more on the mentally
Yeah.
aspect.
So I was like, you're
Like
right.
physically, yeah, no, kids
Yeah.
are not indestructible.
Yeah. I think mentally, like you said, we do underestimate children a lot. And from what I've seen a lot lately, it's so important not to underestimate underestimate children that way, because they aren't blind. They know what's going on in the world. And I think it's important to teach that in the classroom
Mhm.
and understand that. Like one of the topics I saw recently on TV was like teaching kids at a very young age what racism is.
Mhm.
And a lot of people are like, I think that's too young to teach a child. Well, yeah, your child may not face racism, but other children do. And I think it's really important to teach every child about racism.
Mhm.
And that's really important.
Mhm. Even teaching them about like the
Add on
culture.
to that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily about racism, but just basically on like the binary of the genders, just based on their toys. They can already tell the difference between genders by the time they're like 2 or 3,
Mhm.
just because of the materials their parents or family or friends get them. And when they go to the store, they say, "Oh, there's the pink aisle. It has lots of dolls, feminine stuff." Then the boys' oil. That's
the boys play with that.
God. The blue aisle. The blue aisle does have the more, masculine toys where like,
Yeah.
guns, Nerf guns, whatever, cars and stuff like that. Like I was like, they see the difference right from the start when they're toddlers.
Mhm. And it's interesting to like tie in onto that is like a lot, and I've been out of the child development feel it for a while, but I remember that was a topic we talked about. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, the boys aisle and the girls aisle. It's like girls can play with Nerf guns, girls can do all these things, and then likewise, boys can play with action figures. They can play with dolls. It's the imagination. Like, it doesn't have to be this separation.
Mhm.
I don't know. I get that children are very observant. Even before they can communicate verbally, they're still watching us because that's how they interact with the world. So no matter what, if you think they're not paying attention, they most likely are. They just aren't able to communicate that that's what they're doing. So there are certain things that penetrate a child's memory, and that can carry them all the way up into adulthood, which is why you see a lot of grown-ups who have childhood trauma that they haven't processed or actually thought about because they have repressed memories or because they haven't really taken the moment to think about what they were seeing or learning as a kid. So you mentioned racism in the classroom and how maybe a kid experienced something like that, but they didn't know that's what it was called unless someone taught them better. When they go on into adulthood, if they still haven't been taught, they're just learning based off what they're interacting with in the world, you know? So it's everything kind of built into one.
Yeah.
I think too, like you mentioned, like kids maybe like have gone through trauma. Sometimes they don't even know how to express that, or they're learning that new emotion. And so if you have this feeling inside of you, don't know how to express it, and you don't know what it is, it's gonna be rough.
I'm gonna kind of jump on the trauma train right there with I have had two separate students that both had divorced parents and very nasty divorce. And I've seen how it reacts to just two different children. My first child, oh Lord, she would act out. She used to love doing homework, but then she started like throwing it away, and like she was so done with everything. She was being snarky to me and my other co-teacher, and it just like when we talked to dad, and dad trauma dumped my coworker, told him everything that was happening in that divorce. And I kind of explained the behavior, and they were like, he was like, "What can I do? How can I help her?" Like, first of all, therapy, and I don't know where to get that, but you can contact the school because it's support. And then this year with this child, the parents are already divorced, but the arguments between the parents, she witnesses them, and it causes her to be very babyish. She's regressing back to being a toddler. She's asking for help. She's asking for everything. Like, she won't let go of my hand. She wants hugs. She wants affection all the time. And it's like, I can't give her that because I have 20 other students I got to take care of. And this is not healthy for her when she's almost 7. So that's what I mean. Like, trauma does affect them. And the previous girl that she's already in first grade, it's already been over a year since her parents divorced. She's a lot better now. She got help. Her dad is helping her. They're communicating better. So you'd be amazed how resilient children are as long as they get the extra support they need.
I think that's a big thing. We talked about a previous episode, like being able to find that resource to be connected with someone, to be in contact, to talk to someone, to be, I'm repeating the word again, just being connected, to find someone to ask for help,
Yeah, I think in the credential program, they've taught us the importance of understanding people's backgrounds and bringing into the classroom. Also, creating a safe space, because sometimes a kid is too scared to ask for help because they've been like taught that asking for help is a bad sign. Like, if you're struggling with anything, that's like, oh, why? Like, you just can't handle it. The kid knows that from a very young age. So they understand, like, we're trying to like, also, that's like the thing about being a teacher too, that's kind of like scary, is that you're trying to how to say this, you're undo a lot of stuff that kids have learned in the classroom beforehand. You're like, even though you're teaching them, you're trying to unlearn some of the stuff they learned previously. Like, you're not supposed to be doing this or that. Like, no, you can ask me for help. I won't shame you. If you need like after school help, I'm here. Like, that's what sucks, like, in a way, like, we're here to offer help, but they have been taught that you shouldn't be asking.
I agree. And I feel like the whole misconception that kids are indestructible, and not just physically, but emotionally, comes with that idea that they've been taught not to share these emotions, not to make a fuss, because that's what a good child does. They're quiet, they're obedient, and that's not how it should be. So the first step is always to make sure you have a safe space and keep that open line of communication through honest conversation, even at a young age, especially at a young age, because these kids, they learn patterns, right?
Mm.
And they're realizing, hey, this grown-up right here, they don't actually care what I have to say from a young age. And as they continue to grow, if they keep seeing that, they're going to trust you less and less.
And I think what sucks is like, as a teacher, you're doing so many things
All at once, yeah.
all at once, you know, like you're starting your first year of high school, you're taking care of kids, and I'm barely gonna get into it. It's kind of scary. Like there's a lot of things that you're gonna have to mentally prepare yourself to teach these kids and like also learn with them as well. Because every child is different. Every child has a different learning style. And it's just difficult.
But like we're all educators here, and I feel like we're essentially starting from scratch every school year. There are some kids that you might have some prior experience with, and we're like, oh, I know how to help this student out. But then there's the summer, and you don't know what happened to them over the summer. They can come back a completely different person. And it's like that shock of like, oh, this person is not who I remember teaching last year.
And then it goes back to like having to reteach those kids all of those things again.
With the first time I mentioned the divorce, so she would be 1 week with her mom, 1 week with her dad. The dad mentioned it to me saying like, I have to restart with my daughter every week because, you know, she changes so much with the other parent. And it's just like, it's influenced by the people they're around. And
Even Rutherford talks about that, the social cultural.
social theory?
Yeah. Like it's almost like who you surround yourself with, you eventually become. And if you're in a bad environment.
Nature versus nurture.
I
think that's pretty good.
And I don't know. I just think it's like you're also it's cool to see the process of the child too.
Yeah.
I think from an educational standpoint, like,
Yeah, because it's like what's so cool, like when you're teaching a child when like this like undestructible mentality of like why should we be teaching this? It's funny to see them go like, oh, you're onto something.
Yeah,
Like,
that epiphany, that realization.
I'm like, sweet sunflower child, why? Like it's like babes. You're a victim. Babes, that's your victim. Let's learn from that. So you could be a stronger, better person. So that. Yeah. Cause like, you know, one day, like I just realized when you're like 20 years down the line, all of us are gonna be like, I remember you were taking care of me. Remember? And they're like, Miss, did you remember me in class? Do you remember that?
my biggest fear is when my first group of kids, when I start teaching their kids.
That's how you know you're old.
It's my first year, so we're
You have at least 18 plus years.
When I first started at my preschool job, there was a child there, and I watched her grow up until she graduated the preschool. And then when I started this new job working at the elementary, I saw her there last year as a first grader. And I'm like, I used to wipe your butt. I taught you how to use that toilet paper. Like it felt weird seeing her. And she didn't remember me, but she remembered her main preschool teacher. I'm like, do you remember her? She's like, yeah, do you remember this other teacher? I'm like, yeah, I remember her. I'm like, I was there too, girl. I was there. I took care of you too.
I wiped that butt.
And then like ever since then, she would always try and come by and hug me, and I'm like, I love you. I miss you.
Aww.
It's funny. I'm scared to get that level. I've seen my mom go through it. Because when I was like, I forgot, I was like in elementary or middle school. Anytime we went to a retail store, it's like, oh, Mrs. Campos. Yeah, and she's like, oh, hi, Ricky, how are you? I'm doing good, you know, and they'd be telling the stories. My mom told me this and it made me laugh. She's like, if I remember you, there's a reason why I remember you.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing. Because I'm a youth leader, there's an old youth leader called Mr. Jack. He knows my brother so well because the chaos they caused during the after school program they were in. And now the brother works with the program and has worked with him before. And it's such a weird sensation because he's like, I don't know how to act around him. Like he used to teach me, he used to yell at me because I kept messing up. I kept being mean. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
There's a reason why.
Yes, that's why you remember, they remember you. they remember you for a goddamn reason.
Mm.
It kind of, sorry,
No, no,
backwards.
no, it's-
Kids, so in my city, I literally live 2 blocks away from where I work. Those kids see me. I just found out one of my kids is my neighbor down the street.
Oh,
Another one is a block away. I literally saw one yesterday at Target. I'm literally just walking and they just call out, Miss Marlene. And I turn around, I'm like, wrong name, child. And she tried again and she said my name. And I'm like, oh, hey, I know you're your older brother because I taught him over the summer. And I know your mom because your mom works at the school too. So I'm like, hi, everyone. I'm sorry I look like utter crap, but hi. My coordinator already told me, like, okay, so Vallarta, Perles, Target, these are all the hotspots they are all at. And I'm like, those are all the hotspots I go to. So I already met about 20 of my kids already in my own city, all over the place. And one of them knows where I live and they come by.
oh, that's
So-
that's fun.
I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, no, it's kind of freaky because then like one of them knows my car.
That's yeah. Do they know your license plate?
They know because they have stickers on my car. So
Oh
like,
yeah,
they
yours
know
is a
me.
noticeable car.
Yeah.
It's not their fault we have things, like, I don't understand.
Obviously.
I should probably remove one of my sticker that has something with it, but
Oh, they can't read yet. It's fine.
no, this is the 4th grader.
Oh.
He knows how to read. He's read. I had a first
Read
grader read.
fast.
I had a first grader read off my
Safely.
phone. My brother texted me, and his username for Instagram is dumbass. And the first grader read it, and he's like, "Who's dumbass?" I'm like, "No one."
You pronounced it wrong.
You didn't see what, and I think he read it because they had different symbols. You know, like the money sign for S,
Oh.
and like the at sign for A. Like, and that's how my brother spells it, and he still somehow read it and knows what it means. And I'm like, I'm
Oh, sweetie.
Hey.
Knowledgeable. Observant.
I'm
Yeah.
still having my phone out a lot with the little ones because they don't know how to read.
You should
Right.
get that protective screen if you're, you know.
Or you can even do the notifications.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I did
yeah.
that now. I
There we
did
go.
that.
There's always a
But like
workaround.
I've worked with the smaller kids who don't know how to read. So when
Yeah.
I actually started working with older kids and they know how to read, it was like a huge flip. And I was like, I cried over the summer when I was working with the technically 4th graders now. I cried because I'm like, I don't know how to work with older kids. I don't know how to communicate with
different
them.
vibe.
It's completely different, especially when they were not used to discipline, where they're not used to actual structure because their previous youth leader let them do whatever they want. And I come in and I know how to deal with structure. I am serious. I'm like, I'm not this previous youth leader you guys had. If you treat me the way she is, I'm not gonna like that. You're not gonna like how I'm gonna respond. So let's work together so we can have a good time, no matter what. I want you guys to have a good time. I want to have a good time. So let's work together.
Isn't it also in 4th grade? That's when like they start to develop like all the hormones, like puberty age.
They're right before.
It's
right
like
before.
4th, 5th grade. If I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Basically, when they hit double digits, that's when their puberty starts. Some of them get earlier
Earlier and later.
and some later in life. So I don't know about these kids, but they were.
At least it's not middle school. Middle school is
To add to that, I was talking to someone about that. They're like, oh yeah, 3rd grade and 2nd grade are the best grades because that's before they become assholes. That's what she told me.
Second grade.
They told me that because when they hit 4th grade, that's when they don't want to be their parents and they want to be their own individuals. So that's when they become assholes. And they just trying to be cool. You know, that middle school era?
Oh,
Yeah, you know, when they're
That's-
trying to be like
those
so
kiddos.
cool and trying to be an individual. But no one, I'm sorry, no one likes themselves in middle school. No one likes themselves.
it's like the meme phase.
yeah. And I've talked to middle school youth leaders. The horror stories they were telling me, they're like, oh yeah, I had a couple of my kids get into a really bad fire. Both of them were bloody. The police were called. I'm like, what school are you at? Like, I can't imagine that because I work with little ones. And the only bloody thing I get was when they scrape their knees. So when they say like bloody and they're fighting, and then they respond back saying like, I'm gonna tell my dad on you because they're very entitled at that age,
Yeah.
telling like, my dad's gonna, that's my phone. My dad's gonna screw you over. Like they're cussing out in front of their teacher. And I'm like,
Yeah, dude. I think that's a hard thing too, is I know like in certain cities are very what's the word? Higher income areas, like the kids know that their parents can make you lose a job, which isn't
I don't know.
fun.
I worked in a lot of different areas. I will say, right now I'm working Boyle Heights. Those kids, so grateful.
Yeah.
So grateful.
oh yeah.
I have a student who's homeless, and she's so happy whenever I give her a snack. A child from a different part, I'm not gonna name cities. No, they would be like so picky, like that really, that's all you have. Like, I get better sex. They're so entitled sometimes, and it's literally knowing your demographic, knowing what you're walking into. And that's why doing a background search about the area you're working for is very important if you're considering childcare in any form.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that also adds to the whole adapting slash observing, because when you have someone growing up in that environment, they've already seen kind of like the worst, you know, and they're grateful for a lot of things. And that's why you should teach like other like people who are not in those situations to be more mindful of how they say things. So like kids be like, oh, you're broke, that's why. Like you have kids saying things like that.
Yeah.
Be like, you're broke, just say that. Like you're a bum. And I'm like, no, we're not gonna say that. You're gonna be a lot nicer, you're gonna apologize to so and so, and you're gonna go to the timeout corner and think about what you just said. And that's why exactly.
Only works with high school and middle schoolers.
I threaten my high school kids. I'm like, I've worked with elementary kids. I will not above treating you like a child if you're gonna act like a child.
And if you put them in that perspective too, like the kids will act up. Like, I know in middle schools especially, it's all about that pride and ego. It's like I'm the best of the best. But if you put them in their place, if you put them in their place or in a place lower than where they are, like they'll humble. Most of the time, they'll be humbled very quickly.
When I started working with those older kids, the first thing I said is that if you treat me badly, I will treat you like my kinder kids. I know how to work with the kinder kids. I'm like, I will hold my hand. I will hold your hand if you cannot walk in my street, because they love to jump around, go everywhere. I'm like, you will hold my hand because I know you don't like it. I don't want to do that because you guys, kids, can do it by yourself. So act your age, not little kids, and things will be a lot easier. And they actually work with them because I'm like, yes, because they see me working in the kinder kids. They know I'm the kinder kid teacher. So when I said, and I'm serious about that, because I talked to my kinder kids like that, you guys can walk on your own, you will hold my hand if you're struggling. So with them, I said the same thing, and it kind of worked on me. And I talked to the older kids still, with the other teachers they have, I talked to them like that still. I'm like, you can hold my hand if you really need to, and it's not gonna be fun.
Yeah, because it's that whole idea of like, yes, we're a safe space. Yes, we're doing things differently because we value kids' emotions and their inputs. But at the same time, we're not going to let them run wild.
Yeah.
We're firm and we're authoritative because we know that's how we manage our classrooms. Classroom management is key.
Yeah, and I just had a whole training last week about classroom management and how to deal with that.
It's likewise. I remember doing that's always a big thing. I'm talking to like teacher friends and other people. Is like they're always fearful about classroom management, but it isn't really that difficult. It's having a certain amount of rules, not too many, like maybe 5, 6 at top. Be consistent and know your demographic.
Yeah.
As long as the kids like consistency, especially kids who don't have that consistency.
Exactly.
Once they see that consistency.
Also, like stand firm on your
ground, yeah.
Because the second you fold, that's when they're going to test their limits.
I already had a parent complaining, saying like the program's too structured. And I'm like, we have a schedule, we have things set a certain way. This is not just my program, it's a whole school district program thing. And it's because her child used to be in daycare.
Yeah.
Or preschool, whatever, daycare. And she was used to them, like, I guess, running free, doing whatever they want. And it's just like, that's not how it is here. And I can't afford to do that with just him. Because that boy, he's has a lot of energy, he cannot stand still. So I'm like, I can't let him do whatever he wants, because one, he can hurt himself, and two, he can hurt others. And I have 20 kids. So you cannot tell me to put my whole focus on him either.
I guess that brings us to the idea of like, where is the line when it comes to letting kids do dangerous things?
Teachable moments.
Yeah.
So I feel like too, in terms of like teaching, there's only so much you can really do in the classroom.
It's that, and that whole conversation that started with that mom is because her child did get hurt. And I knew this day was gonna come, because the way he is, I have redirected him so many times to sit down, stop, because he likes to like literally flip his body on the carpet. He likes to do cartwheels and kick. Wow. And he almost hit kids that way. And I'm like, I told him, stop. Let's go back and sit down and take a break, because you're almost hurting yourself and you're almost hurting other kids. I needed to stop. Exactly. And I've already told them about this, and this has happened outside. And I already told them, do not go on the bench. The bench is for sitting. Please do not run around. You're gonna hurt yourself. I was hanging out with the other kids. My aide was there watching him. He gets on the damn chair, the damn bench, freaking flips and hit his head. And I'm like, oh
no. My head hit the wall.
And my aide is freaking out because it's her first time doing it and she doesn't know what to do. I'm like, take him to the office, get him the ice pack, and have my coordinator do it, then contact mom. Because he did have a head injury. And I see that he's sad. And like, I was like, I told him you're gonna be okay. You're gonna go to Miss Cindy and everything's gonna be okay. Don't worry about it. Like, I just like guided him away because I can't
Yeah.
leave. I can't leave when my other kids are there. Like,
Exactly. So I guess my perspective on that is like me as a person, my motto is like I like to do dangerous things carefully because I like to explore new opportunities and try new things.
Mhm.
There's a difference because there's a time and a place. A classroom with 20 other kids is not the time or place. And that's like the whole mentality. Like, yes, we want kids to explore the world. Yes, we want them to try new things and learn how to do them safely. But we can't constantly be watching each individual student. And yes, there are different limits depending on the age group. But your kinder kids, your fourth graders, there's a even within those two,
Yeah.
there's a big gap. My high school kids, yes, I give them a little bit more free form, but every now and then I have to like keep them in check because there are certain things I'm like, that's a terrible idea. Let's not do that. You know, it's the understanding that when you're there at home, maybe there's a grown up that can guide them and watch them. That's fine. We can't let them do the same thing in the classroom because we don't know their skill set. We can't constantly be behind them and watching them.
Oh, I haven't gone to that level yet. Like I have like really like I've seen kids say dumb things, you know, and I think when those situations happen, it's like, hey, like you're not supposed to be saying these things. My favorite story I like to tell is when I was helping my aunt with a field trip. It was it was LACMA. It was LACMA. And we were in the arts and looking around, and it was the painting of the Virgin Mary. And I'm like, oh, you know. And one of the teachers, like, one of the kids were like, but Miss, why is it called the Virgin Mary? And he's like, oh, because it stands for purity, innocence, and stuff. But why virgin though? And the poor instructor was like, that's like a question you should probably ask your parents. And then my aunt comes in, she's like, fuck asked that question. And I was like, that kid was like,
yeah.
it's always him. And then it's those situations where I'm like, I know you're supposed to pull them aside, be like, hey kid, you know, like don't be saying these things. You know better.
Yeah.
But it's a field trip, you know, and
They're in
they're
a new
new
environment.
environment. And those situations, you're just like, obviously we're gonna have to sit them down. Or like, you know what's my favorite? You know, when the teacher comes back, it's like, so guys, I got a note from the substitute teacher.
Oh my gosh.
And I heard you guys were not behaving great. What's up? What happened? Because you guys with me, you know, you're great. And then what happened? You know? And those teachable moments, like, because the kid thinks, she's not so and so, I can do whatever I want. And I just
Yes.
I want to have them to have the mentality like, even if I'm not in the room, you better believe my presence still there.
Yeah.
I have eyes everywhere.
Big brother or big sister.
Big sister, like you better not be doing anything dumb because you don't think I have cameras watching you from my house. I do. I'm making sure my classroom is safe at all times. Don't be doing that, Ricky. When I catch you, Ricky.
Always Ricky.
It's always
It's
Ricky.
always Ricky. Freaking Ricky.
That's so funny. I actually had an experience like that recently when I was
Oh.
out last week.
Was it Ricky too?
No, it was Jeffrey. Close enough.
A J.
Anyway.
Be a J name.
I came back. They were supposed to do their LPAC testing, like a practice LPAC test. And my two ELD kids, they're newcomers, they're my freshmen. I kid you not, they refused to take the test. And I got back, I'm like, why did you not listen to the sub? Why didn't you not listen to the counselor? So there was an actual counselor in there.
Right.
They're like, Miss, you're the only one we listen to. Like, they literally like, you're like our mom. You're the one we listen to. I'm just like, first of all,
Don't
they
butter me up.
don't sugar me up to try to make me not mad.
Don't gas me up like that.
Dang.
Don't do that. And so we're working a way to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do when I'm not there. The rest of my classes did okay. They didn't finish their assignment, but you know what? They didn't, they didn't embarrass me. Which is my main priority. I'm like, if I find out that you guys get me in trouble, we're gonna have words. You know? Anyways, okay. Where are we?
No, you're at a house. you're at, I was trying to think of like an English word to describe a house, but
See, that's
This is
dangerous.
the way she protected you.
yeah,
That's
thank you,
not
thank you.
right. You're a teacher. You're not.
Lead by example. What are you doing?
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Stop the violence. Hashtag no violence.
My tummy, screw you.
Yeah.
But to go off that topic of like teaching kids what's teachable and dangerous, I feel like it's hard. Everything is a balance in the classroom. Everything. Like you have to make sure every student is accounted for, but you can't focus on one kid because you also have 19 other kids.
Yeah.
But you also want to make sure no kid is left behind.
Mhm.
And it's always, you have to find a fine balance for everything. And then there's also the worst part, which Amber has mentioned throughout the broadcast, is the parents.
Mm.
It's always comes down to the parents.
Or the role models or adult role
Oh,
models.
The guardians or whatever, who's ever in
Yeah.
charge of these kids.
The adults.
The best part of working with the kids are the kids. The worst part of working with kids are the parents. And I don't know if it's the same way with the older kids, but at least with the little ones, parents are really like hyper aware with whatever their child is saying or whatever they're doing.
Mhm.
And like I had this parent, they're like, I'm worried about my kid because he comes home so quiet. But I'm like, he's playing around doing crazy stuff here when I'm here. When he
Just
goes
being a
home,
kid.
when he's going home, it's almost 6. He's been at school for what, 11 hours already. He's probably tired, hungry, and over this shit. He probably just wants to destimulate from himself and being in from us. So like, I'm not surprised you're tired, your child is quiet. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can't exactly hype him up before he goes home.
Yeah, it also ties into like kind of the first question, like how instructive all of these kids, like from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, they are taking minimum 6 classes,
Mhm.
1 hour a day with maybe little to no food, not to mention the amount of people that are around. There's a lot that they are juggling.
Yeah.
Just like teachers, we're juggling with a lot. The kids are juggling with a
Yeah.
lot, whether we want to.
Social dynamics within the school system.
Social
itself.
dynamics, what's that? Not social people,
No,
connect
oh
with
my
that.
goodness. Okay, because I have worked at literally every single level of the educational system, from TK, elementary, middle, and high school. There's always going to be a social aspect when it comes to the classroom.
Of course.
It's like, oh, miss, I can't be in the room right now because this person's in the room right now, and we kind of had a fight. I don't care.
That's my aunt.
Sit on opposite sides of the room. We're like, I tell my kids, as soon as you walk through my door, whatever stuff you have going on with your classmates, with your friends, with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it's going on, stays out that door. Like once we're in the middle of teaching, that's like when we're focused. You can have a one-on-one conversation with me if you need it. And I have had kids who come up to me and have told me personal stories because that's what they need. They need that one-on-one attention. They want to tell me about their day. They want to tell me about what's going on in their life. But it's hard because we can't make that the whole priority of the classroom. We need to make sure that whatever we're supposed to be teaching them is already like our primary focus. But it's hard to do that when they have everything else going on in their head.
That comes back to the whole balance thing. Cause it's like, you're also realizing they have a life outside of here too. That's the another thing you have to contribute to the classroom is like, this is not their priority sometimes. Like they have so much stuff going on at home that this is like, who cares? Oh, while I'm doing this, I'm trying to survive outside of here.
And that can explain their behaviors too.
Exactly.
The
Show them
priority.
patience, show them grace. Make sure you have that open line of communication.
I think it's the whole child approach. I know child development, that was a big method or like teaching strategy. I've noticed a lot of teachers are teaching that now in the middle school and high school and elementary, but child development, that was the big thing like that struck home for me. It's like the kid has this, the kid has all these things that they're bringing in. Yeah, I think it's the whole child approach.
I think so.
It's like such a great thing. I know even working with a coworker, he was 18 at the time, and that was the one thing that came to mind is like, this guy, I have a hard time working with people who don't have a work ethic, and his work ethic wasn't there yet. So I was very negative not towards him, but like I just wasn't comfortable working with him because just his approach. Great guy, great person, a lot of great things. It's just that work ethic, and it was killing me. I'm like, I don't have to see him as a bad person just because of this one quality. And it's the same thing with teaching too. Like this kid may do something that we don't like, but outside of that, the kid's really good. The kid may be smart in sports or a great artist or even a caring person. And That's okay. We just got to be able to approach
Yeah.
from that perspective.
I think it's like that comes to the teaching styles. Because like we said, every child is different and they all have different teaching approaches. And that's what kind of is like the hard part as a teacher, is trying to find the balance of how can I show this to all my classrooms and all my students without making a child feel left behind. Because that's the goal at the end of the day, never to make a child feel left behind or unnoticed. Because I've seen those videos, all these videos make me cry. It's like these videos of that one student who's always quiet in the corner, and like he never gets the moment to speak up, or like when he finally has a chance to talk to a teacher, it's like taken away. And every time I see those videos, I'm like, oh no, I want to cry. I hate this. And it makes me like, you don't want a kid to never feel that. You never want to feel a kid feel left out or feel like his opinion doesn't matter. And then he's like, but you know what I hate though too? Is like that kid also doesn't want to stand out. That kid, like you pick on him because you're like, no, you don't let me say it. And he's like,
Okay. Something that my program has done to like approach that was we have these themes with possible with the student's name called equity sticks. So when I ever say a question, I'm like, no one yell out the answer. I'm gonna choose one for my sticks and I'm gonna ask you the answer. If you need help, we're gonna choose another stick to help you. And that's how we try to like, or like I said, like approach that type of thing. So we don't want a child to feel left out. And I literally had a child cry because like I didn't get chosen for the new classroom job. It's like you were at the job last week, so I'm choosing students who haven't had the chance. And he's been crying this whole past week because he didn't get the job. And I kept talking to dad. I'm like, Dad, I'm just trying to make it fair for my other students. And I understand that he's sad and I want to make him feel better, but I'm like, it's not fair to the other students. And the other kids will notice the unfairness.
Yeah.
Because I have a student, oh my word, he has so many behavioral problems. He's so sweet, so sweet. That little boy has a hard time with impulse control. He punched a student in the face on Thursday. He freaking kicked someone in the neck already. And that's just two things he's done. He's done a bunch. He's thrown tantrums. He's hit his teacher. He's hit me in the face. And it's just like, and for us, like, mom's not really helping us. Mom's not on our side. Mom thinks we're crazy and that she doesn't believe what we're telling her. And so we're kind of on our own because we can't kick him out. We're trying to get him help. And we talked to the teacher because he has the same behavioral issues during class. He's getting assessments. Hopefully things go out well for him. But the children notice because we let him color. Because if he's not doing something, he acts out. So we give him like his own personal markers because he likes to put things in his mouth. So we have his own personal stuff that we let him use in the corner. And he's fine by himself. And they're like, why can't I color right now? Like, you're doing homework. He's doing his own work. And they're like, he's coloring, that's not working. I'm like, I don't know how to explain this to you. I just tell them, like, you don't need the extra help he needs. You're able to do things on your own. And once you finish your homework, you have the opportunity to color too. And it's like, it's so hard because these kids always, every day mention, like, why does he get to play with the toys? Why doesn't, it's just because, like, I don't have any other option at this point. I don't have support from a mom. There's only so much I can do. I'm not his actual teacher. I'm just his after school program teacher. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do much. And it sucks because these kids notice that. And it's just like, I feel unfair for you guys too. Like, I feel that. It's unfair for you too.
I think being able to communicate with them too is like, yes, I understand. Yes, you are right. You're not wrong. It's like that. Kids will respect you a lot more for that.
Jimmy, you want him to color or kick your neck?
I don't know. I feel like just from the after school perspective, they're just very much underappreciated and undervalued, you know? It's the whole understanding that it's a legitimate service. It's not a daycare. It's most of the time very structured depending on where you go.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be an extra educational outlet for students. But parents typically see that as accepted daycare for the kids because they can't pick them up really. And they don't get that support. They don't get that appreciation. Half the time, they're the ones who are with their kids from after school until late at night. I think 6 most of the times. And they notice these things, obviously. But because they're just like run-of-the-mill workers, they're not hurt, you know? I had a student during an after-school program who I wasn't working at that school anymore, but I went back to go do lesson planning with a different worker at that school. She saw me and she revealed to me that she was self-harming. She showed me her arms. And I was like, how come no one else has talk about this. So I had to do a full report on that. And it's hard because you see these kids, but if you're in a program like that, most of the time it's for such a short period of time, you know? So you make an impact and these kids remember you and they feel that connection, but then it gets taken away so quickly.
I just want to add to your teacher on this thing is that I just from what you told me about that program that I'm not gonna drop names, but I'm not gonna drop names, but there's people in your work that don't do enough, that don't do anything at all.
That is also true.
And that's what's frustrating too, because you could be trained to be the best teacher ever, do what you're supposed to do, write the paperwork, do all of this, all the cautionary things you have to do to make sure that child is safe, versus other teacher who doesn't do that at all. And that's what discourages students. Because Jen has told me stories about some of her coworkers who don't even do any of the paperwork, that don't do any of the process, doesn't do anything. And also the students know this and the parents know this. Like you had thought like a couple of compliments being like, got so much better because you did this. And it's like a huge improvement,
Yep.
And like, and even though there is so many ungrateful parents, there's always gonna be that few parents that be like, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking care of my child. Cause I know he could be a half. I know she could be a half. And that's what matters most at the end of the day. Because there might be so many teachers that don't want to do that extra step or what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, the bare minimum.
The bare minimum.
The bare minimum. Because like what you said, you have to like report that. You have to talk about it. You have to make sure the supervisors know or the counselors know, and you have to write about it. But then there's teachers who don't do it, and which is weird.
I guess
Yeah.
Something I was telling you who has all these like behavioral issues. We report this to mom, and that's why mom doesn't believe us. Like, oh, this doesn't happen at school. The teacher doesn't call me and nothing like that. And it's like, well, the teacher tells me about his issues. I don't know why she's not calling you because it happens all throughout the whole school. And he's like, he's perfect during school. And I'm like, no, he's not. No, he's not. Like, I highly doubt the behaviors he's showing me is he's doing the same behaviors during school. And when finally the teacher called her and told her that he's doing things, I was so relieved. I'm like, thank you. I'm not freaking crazy that your child is a little out of control. Like, he's so sweet. He's so sweet. He loves getting out hugs. He likes to hang out with me. But then his behavior is so difficult that I don't know what to do. I'm not looking for him Monday already.
I don't know. It's that whole mentality of like, if you're thinking about going into childcare or education, go into it knowing that it's going to be a lot of work and knowing that, like, be willing to do it.
Yep.
Be willing to put in your heart behind it.
All in.
All in,
Yeah. Because they're like, I love my principal because she appreciates the after school program. Because one, her son was in it last year. I love him. I miss him. I miss my baby boy. He's the best. But she supports us like during like teacher appreciation week. She brought us flowers. She waited at the entrance gate to give each youth leader a flower and a little gift bag.
Yeah.
She gave me a school t-shirt, school materials, stuff like that. And like she's showing appreciation. And she also invited us for her entire teacher, her whole staff. She brought in I don't know how to say it, elote. Thank you. To our school so we can get free food.
Love that.
And then she's supportive. And like right now, my school is hosting USC dental work there for free for the students who can't afford dental work.
Wow.
I'm so happy because I know some of the kids have really nasty ugly teeth. So I had a student whose teeth was great. And so when I heard about this, I'm like, yay.
During a summer camp I worked at, they provided glasses and eye checks for the kids. That these programs work. They're there for a reason.
Yeah.
And there are people that support. Like I had a parent, I love her, I miss her. I love this parent. She was so sweet. She went to TJ and brought me tea because she's like, it's getting cold. And this is special tea that me and my family used to help with the phlegm and stuff like that. And she gave us little gift bags for Teacher Appreciation Week too. Like there are parents and there are people that really truly do appreciate you. And those are the moments that remind you like this is worth it.
Where you're at.
Even with the kids, I love it when the kids like just make drawings of me and just like they see me and they appreciate me. Sometimes they don't, I'm pretty sure, but I am there for them, and then they come and talk to me too. These little kids tell me everything. One of them already told me about the parents fighting each other, and I'm like, okay,
You didn't even know that.
I didn't even know that, but I hear you, and I'm sorry that's going on.
Kids are the gateway. I tell people this. Kids are the gateway to your household.
Mhm.
And most kids at a young age, they feel about a lot of things, but when they talk about personal stuff, they don't ever lie about it.
No, and that's what's scary. I've already had children tell me certain things. Like she wasn't even telling me; she was actually playing with her own toys and telling me, showing me serious stuff that happens at home because that's not something you make up.
Yeah.
And it was so sad to hear that. And I immediately was like going to my boss. I'm like, do I need to report this? Do I need to talk to the parents? Because this was also like my first year working there, and I'm hearing about this child who was once in the foster system, has with her brother. She has 7 siblings, and
Yeah.
she's only with one of them, and she was in the foster system for a while. And it's just like, and she was 4,
Mm.
4 years old going through all this. So her acting out what happens at home, it was sad. And I talked to the parents when she has her adopted parents. I talked to them and they're like, oh my God, what can I do? How can I help her? And I'm like, first of all, therapy for her and her brother, because both of them went through serious trauma that you guys can't fix. And unfortunately, they need the extra help. Not that it's unfortunate, but it's unfortunate they went through that and they need the extra help. So like, and from what I hear, like, because I stopped being her teacher the next year, she was a whole lot better. Her and her brother, a whole lot better.
They're in a stable and healthy environment.
I love her parents. I love them.
That's good. It kind of ties into like that whole conversation back to it. Like you have kids. I know when I was a one-on-one aide with one kiddo, he's second year in high school, I think. No, he's a sophomore now. Oh my goodness, he's old. I think in 7th grade, didn't do anything, never had consistency. But eventually working with him and him getting back into school, 8th grade became an honors kid, graduated, and he actually looked forward to going to school. And it was super cool that despite, and I got to hear a lot of his trauma, a lot of his backstory. He's like, despite the stuff that he's gone through, he still had a smile. He's still cracking jokes, still being a goofball. We're nerd. He hated when I called him a nerd, but he was a straight up nerd. And it's just cute to see, like, despite all that craziness, he's still putting a smile. He's still checking in with kids, like just being a human. So it's like, it's crazy. Like kids do have that potential to be great. It just goes back to like, do they have that system to help them out?
Yeah.
I just think it's like, that's why they rely on us, because if they don't have that support at home, they'll find it at school.
And that child that I mentioned who went through the foster system, she had two dads, her 2 adoptive dads. So she literally had no female models at all. Me and my co-teacher, everyone basically at my preschool, because there's only one male teacher, he wasn't with us. Everyone was there basically the female role model to her. And even when Mother's Day come, she was like, I do have a mom. I have a mom. Her mom's not in the picture, like at all. Not even her actual biological dad, not at all in the picture. So it's like, it was such a tough time for her. But like, she finally had like a stable babysitter and who's a woman and gave her that comfort.
Yeah, because a lot of times these kids see you as a surrogate parent. It's sad sometimes, but it's like the understanding that we are there not just to provide them actual like logic-based education, the foundational stuff that they have to learn by standards and all that, but all that other stuff that goes on behind the scenes. The little things that add to them becoming a whole person and growing, just not just mentally, emotionally, physically, all that.
My mom has told me so many stories. Like, okay, me and my brother have a joke about it. It's not about the stories, but how my mom starts it off. She goes, guys, I have a sad story to tell you. It's like, no, it's gonna make me cry. Don't tell me. Don't tell me. But my mom has told me so many sad stories over the years. And then just thinking about it makes me want to cry. It's just like a lot of kids that she has like taken care of to the counselors have all just like gone through a lot of trauma. One of them, she told me recently, like 2 years ago, that this child's mom basically like left him, like left him, and this kid is so sweet, and he gets angry sometimes when he gets angry, it's like he gets into these like fits. And he's just like, it's gonna make me cry. Ah, it's gonna make me cry. Because he told me my mom, like, he was crying. He's like, I'm just gonna be oh, and then I'm just like, oh, damn it. Mom, why you tell me sad stories? Like that hurts. So when you hear kids say that, like you don't know how to respond properly. And that's why they like look at you, like you guys were saying, like they look at you as a circuit, they look at you as a support system. So when you hear those things, you're just like, oh, like, stop. A part of me is just like, you know what? Fuck your mom. I don't talk to you. Fuck her. I don't like her. She left you just to go to New York. Your mom. I don't like your mom. I'll be your mom. So yeah, like hearing those things can't help but not feel like emotional connection to it, and you don't want to just like hug them. You're like, you know what? I'll be your mom. Yeah.
That's true. We have that opportunity to could make that impact. As scary as it is, like we kind of hurt them, we also have the opportunity to build and allow them that space to grow. That being said, that is all the time we have for today. So yeah, take care of those kids. Just keep it simple, love them, be kind, be caring, and show them this episode, maybe not.
No,
Probably not. No,
probably not.
please don't show them. But in all seriousness, pass a smile, stay safe, always be awesome. See you guys next time.